Nasdaq production.
Yo, what is poppin'? We're gonna break down these markets here. So this is what I'm looking at, right? We got the S&P, we're gonna go through the Nasdaq, we're gonna go through the Dow, we'll go through the Russell, we'll go through all that. We have this upper trend line here, where this is the S&P 500 futures, and we're looking at this upper trend line rejecting us back. It's been holding us back since December, right? So 1, 2, 3 major touches. Whenever we come up to this zone, it's major. We're gonna be paying attention to it for like once this gets a major break to the upside, I think that's when the whole trend will change completely. What we're looking for now is right, we want to get back into this area. This is what I'm watching, right? And we've been watching this area. This has been marked out since probably March, right around this area. We've been watching this zone for a long time. So if we think we're gonna eventually come back into this zone, it could happen right now. Maybe we keep flushing at the beginning of this coming week and we reach down into this zone, and then we have somewhat of a bounce through October, and then we come back to end off in the year to double bottom into this range, right? Something like that could happen. Octobers are known to have like a more bullish presence, right? So we might get a bounce. It does look like we should get somewhat of a bounce, especially because we had this very sharp rejection once we came out to this trend line, right? Straight back down like around 16%, 1 week green. So I do think though these in the span of these 7 weeks here, we did see some massive decrease, and I do think that that is indicating a lot of people are exiting money out of the markets, and I do think we are going to go lower. I don't know what's going to go on in terms of like the Russia Ukraine and like other macroeconomic factors that could affect these stock markets, right? But overall, I'm looking into we fall into this zone now, or maybe we get a bounce, and then later on in maybe November or late October, we get that dip, right? So if we are going to bounce now, I'd be looking maybe something like this, maybe get into this zone here, and then we get that rejection right back down into this area, right? So something like this could happen where, again, no one really knows what's going to happen, but this is my kind of guess, speculation. And if we're looking at the technicals and going by this stuff, I think that this could make sense, right? If we do get the bounce and then we come back to reject, or we flush down now, right, and we get something that looks like where we get the flush now, and then we have somewhat of a bounce, and then we double bottom later into the year, and then we come back out. Who knows, right? And then we will be looking eventually for this major break of this trend line to restart this bull trend. So these are things we're looking at on the S&P. When we're looking at the Nas, very similar, right? So at the Nas, it's different. We're already in that zone. So maybe we get the bounce now on the Nasdaq, right? It's hard to tell. I'll drag this line out and see, but again, same thing. This is a major trend line. Once we break above it, we want to see major volume coming in. All stocks, you want to see them at major like levels. Do they have like patterns that are setting up on regular stocks? How does the Apples, Amazons, Teslas, Microsofts, Googles, Shopify's, how do they look? All these stocks. That's going to affect the Nasdaq, and I think there's definitely a major opportunity coming soon. I think watching now is going to be huge. I got major eyes on Shopify, I think. There's a few different names. It's hard because I have my eyes on so many different things like Galaxy, we got Wonderfy, but then also there's stocks like Caterpillar that I really like, and Shopify, and then there's more too, right? It's like, damn, there's so many I want to keep an eye on, but we'll have to see when the opportunity comes. But again, right, kind of similar to the S&P when we had this major drawback a little bit further, right? 19% since the mid-August. Are we going to get that bounce that maybe we get the touch the top of this trend line once more to get the rejection to the full downside, or maybe we stay in this range a little bit further, right? It's a little bit tough to tell, but again, this box here is the same amount of time that the 2008 crash was. So I want to see if there's going to be a significant change in the trend within that period of time. Look at this here. So this is the Dow Jones, right? We are just collapsing through supply and demand zones here, right? So this was a previous, so that's like a major support zone there, but we just collapsed right through it. So I'm thinking that could mean we're going to get that quick bounce, but or it could mean that we're going to try to find support, which could be further. So on the Dow, this zone here, it's crazy how we mark these zones so early off in the year, and now we're finally starting to like get to those zones. It's nuts. And I'm starting to notice that a lot of these, like the Nasdaq, the S&P, um, the Dow, all these have a very similar pattern shaping up, where it's like there's like a downward channel of resistance almost. And a lot of these, like and Apple and Tesla, are looking like this too, right? So that'll be something we want to see eventually break. Um, but yeah, so that's the VIX. Let's find the here's the Russell here. Very interesting on the Russell. We had this um, distribution zone up here where we just can't break up higher, and then we try to fake out, and then we start this collapse. We've come all the way back into this zone on the Russell, so it's very interesting to see. I don't know what's going to happen next here, honestly. From a technical perspective, you'd expect there to be a bounce. So I'm almost kind of leaning that there's going to be an overall bounce in some of the markets, right? And even if you look at BTC, let's check that one too. Like, just get an overall market read here. But like BTC's been tightening up in this range over around 19K. Like, what happens if we just break out of this zone? And then all markets have some sort of rally at the beginning of October, right? So it's very interesting. We'll see what's coming up soon, but that's the breakdown for the overall markets. Peace.